Alrighty, hey everybody, Shane here with DailyAstroCat.com, and right now we're going to be talking to you about the week. This is the coming week, starting on 6/20. Well, actually Monday 6/24. So it starts 6/23, and it's going to run till I believe the 20. Let's see, 27, 28, 29, 29th. Yep, the June 29th. So we've got 2024. This is some stuff that I want to talk to you about, but we're primarily going to talk about Saturn. And we're going to talk about Saturn because that full moon that we had in Capricorn, that full moon is going to occur. It's going to a recurring full moon. And it's going to show up in Capricorn for a second time. Now, this is a blue moon, but this is a blue moon not within the same calendar month, but within a zodiacal period. So we're going to have the period of Cancer, which began with a full moon in Capricorn. It's going to have a new moon in Cancer, and then another full moon in Capricorn. And then the next lunation we're going to experience is the new moon in Leo, and then the full moon in Aquarius. And now we're going to be out of the topsy-turvy. We're going to be putting some things right, okay? Now, if things have felt backwards, like the cart was before the horse, or we were just, going crazy, this might be a very good reason, because we weren't on that natural cycle. We were having a culmination, but we were culminating the previous month's energy with the moon that's supposed to culminate the energy of the complementary sign, the sign that it's opposite, right? With it operating the other way, we've got this kind of strange disconnect going on where we may have felt like we were doing the right thing, but maybe we weren't. Who knows, right? Holy cow. Hold on. That sucked. I got to stop. I don't even know how to stop it. Hold on. Hold on. Where's my Zoom? There it is. Shit. Okay, we just had our power go out. That was really awkward. All right, so I don't know how much of that I got, or I didn't, but we're going to talk. I had the power go out. Speaking about Saturn, right? Talk about Saturn, power goes out. Now, power is more associated with, say, like a Uranus thing, because that's associated with some kind of electrical flow and things like that. However, just, got to get through it, right? Trials and tribulations, getting through it. Okay, so we have Saturn. We're going to talk about Saturn. What is Saturn? Okay, and why does Saturn matter for this week? Mercury is the lead planet, so shouldn't Mercury be the focus? Yes, but Mercury also has an aspect with Saturn. We have these lunations that are coming at us, okay? Now, I'm going to switch over to the screens right now because we're going to start talking about this. So let me start sharing. We're going to share over here. That's what we're going to share. All right, so here we go. Okay, we can see Saturn over here. And as we see, this is Saturn down in Pisces. Now, what is Saturn? This is the last full moon we had. This is the chart for the 21st, if you look at it. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep it going, but see, that's for the 21st. So that was the full moon that we experienced just after the solstice. So today's the 22nd. So that's yesterday's full moon. This is yesterday's chart. You can see all the crosses in there, right? Doesn't look very good, does it? But yet we've got some trines up there. We got some trine action down there. So we're not going to pay too particularly close attention to those aspects right now. We want to talk about Saturn, because what is Saturn? Okay, well, let's check out Saturn, okay? There's Saturn. Saturn's that planet with the rings on it, right? Now, believe it or not, at some point in the next year, okay, between now and 2025, those rings are going to disappear, okay? And they're not going to disappear, but the elliptic of the Earth is going to match the elliptic of Saturn. And we're going to be looking at the side of them, because remember, those things are only about, if I'm not mistaken, they're about 30 to 50 meters wide, because it's just crushed material that orbits around it in a circular fashion. And the width of them, they are not that wide. They do reflect a lot of light, but they're just bands of things that have been crunched. And sometimes, some places in those bands, there's moons and stuff. I think you can see one right there, unless it's a dirty spot on my lens, on my screen. But who knows, right? But anyway, that's Saturn. All right. Now we also have. Oh, that's George Harrison. There's Saturn. This is Saturn from Pompeii. This is how the Romans saw Saturn. So they saw Saturn as this almost priest-like thing with a harvest hooky scythe. That's the scythe. That's the Roman scythe for the harvest, right? Barefoot, head covered. Just another god who happens to eat children, right? Yeah, that's Saturn, right? All right, so we've covered Saturn before as far as the mythology was concerned, because I think I covered it back right around the first of the year when we were talking about Janus and Saturn being Etruscan gods and the gateways, the portal of the new year, the new calendar year. This is slightly different though, because we have Saturn here now. When Saturn ruled the Earth, it was considered to be a good time. There was no war, there was no slavery, there was no anything. Then after Zeus defeated Kronos, which is Jupiter defeating Saturn in the Roman mythology, that's when things kind of went downhill. Now, whether it's downhill or not, I don't know, but supposedly there's this golden age where Saturn ruled over. Now, Saturn's twin brother is Janus. And this is an interesting thing because we know Janus has two heads, right? So this is something that's very fascinating because Janus is a god of portals. And what happens, what seemed to happen is when the Romans put together all of this stuff, they borrowed Kronos from the Greeks and then incorporated a little bit of Saturn stuff into it. And we're going to talk about that because this is where we separate what Saturn typically means, because Saturn is typically trials, tribulations. It represents hard work. It represents hard lessons. It represents a lot of things that are, quite frankly, people view as negative. It's considered to be the major malefic, along with Mars, and but I tend to ascribe to the same philosophy that Dane Rudyard assigned to. There are no such thing as bad planets, and particularly in a birth chart, there are no bad planets. It's just the placements that we're interested in. Saturn governs those things that are earthly. It governs those things that are down to earth. That's the ruler of the earth sign Capricorn. It's also the ruler of the sign Aquarius. Now, this is very, very interesting because when we look at it from the ancient standpoint, Saturn was the last planet. You couldn't go beyond it. That's why there's a limitation, right? There was nothing beyond Saturn. Saturn encompassed what was our known universe, known at the time to the ancients. And when Uranus was discovered in 1780, is that 81? Whenever it was discovered, I believe it is around there, right around there. When Uranus was discovered, what ended up happening is that, or maybe 1789, that it opened it up. And so now we had more planets, and then we added Neptune, and then we added Pluto, and then we demoted Pluto. And now we have all sorts of runaway objects in the Kuiper Belt and asteroid belt and Oort cloud and all of those things. And somewhere out there's planet number 9 just hiding in the shadows, and we haven't found it yet. That's because we're talking millions upon millions upon millions of miles, billions of miles. That's what we're talking about. Now, Saturn, astrologically, Saturn as a archetype, Saturn as what we would want to view as Saturn, right? Now, this is a curious thing because I should have thought of it before, but I am actually, let's just take a look at Saturn. Saturn for us, Saturn for me happens to be a rather, it is very paternal, paternalistic, but so is Jupiter. So the two of them, Saturn represents the organizations. Okay, the trappings, the buildings, everything that's there. Jupiter, in my mind, is the laws, and they both represent the patriarchy in one way or another. Curiously enough, in my mythology, Saturn is more like, are you sure you want to be doing that? Do you want to think about this? It is a limiting force. It's a force for limits, but it's also a force where we can go beyond the limit, because it tests us. And we have to go, in order to pass the test, we have to surpass whatever is in front of us, whatever it's set in front of us. So, like right today, the power went out. I had no idea the power went out. I'm talking about Saturn, power goes out. The laptop stays on, but everything around me dies. And I'm just like, wait, what's going on? Well, clearly, then you're going to lose internet, so I can't record anymore, even though I'm on the computer. And the computer didn't die, but the other monitor that I use went right away. That's a Saturnian thing. That is something that there's something there. Hey, do you want to do this today? Oh, here, let's throw this little roadblock in your way. How are you going to overcome this? How will you get beyond this? Because remember, when Saturn challenges you with something, there's always a reward there. Saturn is associated with the 10th house. The 10th house is our public face. It is our career. It is accomplishments. It is a house of reward. We work for a reward. We are challenged. We get a reward for it. Jupiter promises stars, moons, and clovers, but it doesn't set a test before you. Saturn is that test. Saturn provides the reward. Jupiter, it may not, right? It may or may not. We don't know. However, what we do know, I'm going to take this image down because I want to just get back to the charts. So here we go. Here's the chart right here. So now what we do know is we do know that Saturn is that limiting influence. It doesn't participate in the jollity of the planets, say like Jupiter or Mars, because they're much more active. Jupiter is the philanderer of the zodiac. Mars has one obsession and one obsession only, and that's with Venus. Okay, Mars will also, Mars is pretty malleable. Mars can pretty much go. He can pursue whatever he wants to pursue. He'll pursue the moon. He'll pursue Neptune. He'll pursue Persephone or Scorpio or whoever in my cosmology I happen to have set forth in my earlier cat stories. However, Jupiter seems to be somewhat immune to this because Jupiter is almost like a higher law, and it operates as that gateway to the other planets because once they were discovered, they have to go through it, and that's where Janus and Jupiter and Saturn kind of get condensed. Now, I've heard some people talking about, well, Jupiter is restrained because of the rings, all right? But what about next year when you can't see the rings, okay? Well, somebody would say, oh, well, that's just because of the way that they're tilted. Well, there's no such thing as retrograde. The planets don't move backwards. It's how they appear from Earth. So if that light disappears from those rings, no matter how inconsequential or whatever it may be, we can't see them. They're not reflecting light. Does that not change what it is that it signifies? And if they disappear and it's no longer constrained, then we have this force that is open, but it functions the way that Saturn has been functioning in Pisces right now, as a gateway. Okay, but the interesting thing is, if you think those rings are constraining it, it isn't. It's because it's above and below. It's only because you're thinking in 3 dimensions, but there's an above and a below. That gives it something else. That gives it more dimensionality as we go because it's in Pisces, and we have that dimensionality going up and down. This is a very spiritual place, and it's a powerful way to think about Saturn and try to reimagine it as this gateway, as it functions. Now, if you are familiar with my with my earlier work, you would know that Aquarius, the realm of both Uranus and Saturn, was it was a nexus of gateways. And then it made it so that the planets could free flow into each other's realms as they saw fit, but just in relationship to where they were at on the wheel. It made for some interesting stories and interesting dynamics. And usually what would happen is the moon would bring all of that stuff together. The moon was the single thread because she had all the wisdom to go all through the zodiac every 28 days. She didn't have to worry about, oh, I'm square with this. She's like that every single month. Every month she's in all those aspects. She knows all those aspects. That's what she knows. And if we can tap into what she knows rather than what she feels, then we would be way ahead of ourselves and everybody else, because we would be able to accept what it is that we're experiencing and then know that we've experienced this before and it's a familiar pattern, and that's what we do. And that's what my astrology is all about. It's about recognizing patterns, and it's about being able to use those patterns to help you. And my particular focus wants to be creating. It's going to help you create better. It's going to help you create, hopefully, more, or just inspire. It's an inspiring thing. And if there's something that's not, that's negative or that's undesirable, then we can try to avoid that. We shouldn't spend our entire life avoiding pain. But what we should do is we should be not be Groundhog Day all the time, right? Just the same mistakes over and over and over again. There's a lesson here to be learned. There's patterns here that are to be made. And this is kind of one way that we do it. Now, this lunation is very interesting because it's going to repeat in another 28 days. So if you're looking at this chart right here, and in 28 days, what's going to happen? Well, the sun will advance. The sun will be almost all the way over here, and you'll have Mercury and Venus in Leo. So this is going to have a very different feel to it, even though it's feeling. And then we're also going to have the moon conjunct with Pluto. And this is a very much a different point where we're going to be at. Now, the ruler of Capricorn is, you guessed it, Saturn, right? Now, Saturn and Pisces, that Pisces-flavored Saturn, that gateway, that deeper understanding. There's a transcendence there that I described with that above and below, as above, so below thing, that we can feel that gateway, and we're getting closer to Neptune. Okay, we're getting closer to Neptune. We're thinking much more seriously about things that are going to affect us and affect how it is that we go about our everyday day to day. Okay, that's a very empathetic place, and that's a place that's going to translate into having us revisit where we've been since 2008 when Pluto entered Capricorn, and where we're at now. Because Pluto's retrograde, we're going to be revisiting that. And then with the second lunation, Saturn is retrograde. Saturn is actually retrograde at the end of the week, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So we have all these interesting things going on that are going to have us revising where we're at, what we're looking at, what it is that we wanted to change and what we want to change up. And now's the time to really just decide, yeah, this is what I'm going to do and it's best for me. And it's done in Cancer, okay? In Cancer, you can see it right up here where that lunation was in the 7th house and here on the East Coast. It didn't really matter, really. But, for you all around. But, I mean, it's Saturn, the sun, Venus and Mercury in Cancer. This is self-preservation. This is what we're doing. This is how we can go and just regather, regroup, and get our things together for the next level, the next thing that we have to do, the next leg of our journey. Because remember, we're on that karmic journey with the North Node, that eclipse point, right? We're coming to another eclipse point in Libra. So once we reach that eclipse point, then we'll know what direction we had to go in, and then we will have the strength to continue on until the next eclipse point that occurs in Aries. Okay, that's what I want to say about the lunation and about the coming lunation, about the coming one. Okay, and I did not mean to do that. I apologize. So now, if we look at this, let's see. This is for the 27th. This one here is, I got to get out of this because I want to look at my things. So now we have full moon in Capricorn. We just did. Now we have Mercury trine Saturn, and this is going to happen on the 27th. And then we have Saturn retrograde on the 29th. So we want that Mercury trine Saturn first, right? And that Mercury trine Saturn we want is, and I just hit back on that, didn't I? Oh boy. Okay, that Mercury trine Saturn that we had, we want to talk about this because this is going to be interesting. Mercury trining Saturn means that our communications are going to be helped, and they're going to be helped by that more circumspect, that halting way. The trine helps us to limit what it is that we're saying and get it down to what's essential and what's needed, and what it's going to take to get our ideas across, particularly ideas that are spiritual in nature and creative in nature. Okay, with that Saturn being in Pisces, and you can see where the moon on this particular chart is conjunct Saturn right at the same time. So we have the moon conjunct with Mercury as well. Now the moon, in a, what is that relationship? That's very close to trine. Yeah, the set is trine. So we have a trine. So the moon and Saturn are conjunct, but they're trine Mercury. Now the moon trine Mercury means that, particularly in water signs, means that we're more receptive and we're more in sync with our intuition. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at the intuition here. There's a line that runs here, and that moon Saturn, that makes it very serious, very, very pensive, very feeling, very emotional, very, what are we doing? Are we doing the right thing here? Now, Saturn, the moon, and Pisces, that should be reining in any of those Pisces, that anaretic degree stuff that Neptune may be going through with substances and stuff like that. You may even be off of them. You may even be like not smoking. You might be not drinking. You might be not doing anything that you're not supposed to be doing because you want to do the right thing, because you're doing the right thing for your body and for your health. That's a good idea, right? That's what, now with the Mercury, that's our mind. That's what we're going through. But our mind in the watery Cancer is more like, how can I preserve, protect, and yet move forward? Because remember, Cancer is a cardinal sign. We got people taking vacation. We're making memories, okay? These memories that we're making, they get even bigger and better with Saturn and the moon, because it's not restriction, but this is just going to be good memories. These are going to be really good feeling, okay? Or conversely, they could be really sad too, but you just don't know until you try, and you'll stick on the side of trying, okay? Don't say, oh, it's hopeless. This is done. I can't do this anymore because we're in the last degree, the last sign of the zodiac. No, we're doing something. We're closing it out. We're making it memorable, and it's going to be beautiful, so that when we move on to that next degree in the zodiac, we can start something new, and we can start it in a way that's going to make us feel empowered, important, and like what we went through was it was a sacrifice that was well worth it. Okay, maybe we're not going to go and be able to get to go out so many times, but yet we're going to spend it making it memorable. Okay. The last thing we're going to talk about today, and this is the last one. Normally there's 5, right? There's 5 normally. Yep. Nope. We're going to have Saturn go retrograde. What is that? Okay. Well, we told you about the retrograde is that the Saturn and the sun, the Earth, it's between the two of them. Now the Earth just passes it, and now we're going to go whoop, and it looks like Saturn's going backwards. Okay, now, backwards Saturn, right? So what's going on here? Well, our backwards Saturn, it means that whatever it is that we were being patient about and everything, our plans, our work, Saturn aspects of life, right? Those Saturn aspects that we have, the patience, the work, the diligence, our humor, to some extent, right? We're going to revisit that. We look at it, we review it, we look at it through new eyes. Okay, Saturn rules institutions. Institutions are going to be taking a look back. They're going to pull back a little bit. We got Pluto already drawing back. Pretty soon we're going to have the other planets joining it in retrograde, and we're just going to pull back just a little bit. And it's like, what's going on here? You have to admit that there's some foundational stuff that's going on that we may not like. We may not be digging. We may not be appreciating it, right? What's it going to do? Well, we have Mercury, both Mercury and Venus trine that Saturn as well. And for that matter, the sun may, I don't believe the sun's still a little bit too far back, but the Mercury and Venus are definitely very close to trining that Saturn. And that just means that we're helped by this because what it is that we want to create or attract or say, we're going to be able to think about it in a way that's going to be helpful, and it's going to be addressing things that will help us discover how we can transform these different ideas that we have into something that's very useful. All right, so that's what I got for the week for you, folks. We're going to be doing the regular daily AstroCat as we go along. As you can see, our moon is in Aries on this particular chart. So we're going to start the week with that moon pretty much in Capricorn. And by the time the week finally pans out, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 signs into Aries, and we'll be conjunct with Chiron right there. So we've got a week of some good health to look forward to. That's very important with this Pisces and the Neptune thing going on right here, okay? So we have Saturn in Pisces, we have Neptune in Pisces. That's very important. I'm going to stop sharing just so I can say goodbye to you all. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Still trying to get used to these, particularly with power outages in the middle, right? Thank you so much. Have a great day. Happy astrocatting. Jesus.